The sea stretched as far as the eye could see. Blue, kalem, and every so often its surface rose and fell as though remembering something that had happened long ago. On a small island, surrounded by towering coral cliffs, lived an elderly woman named Ratih. Every morning, she walked to the same beach, sat upon the same stone, gazed toward the same horizon, and waited. She had been waiting for 30 years. 30 years earlier, her son had sailed away with a group of sailors, searching for a better life in distant lands. He promised he would return. Ratih still remembered that day. His smile, his embrace, the wave of his hand growing smaller and smaller in the distance. Then the ship disappeared beyond the line of the sea. And from that moment on, there was never another word from him. Some people said the ship had sunk. Others said her son had settled in another land. Some said he might have forgotten his homeland. No one knew. Yet Ratih continued to wait. Year after year passed. Her hair turned white. Her body grew bent with age. One by one, the friends of her generation left this world. But she still came to that beach, still gazed toward the horizon, still hoped to see the sails of a ship appearing in the distance. One afternoon, the wanderer arrived on the island. He saw an elderly woman sitting alone upon a rock, gazing at the sea without blinking, as though she were afraid of losing something if she looked away. "Are you waiting for someone?" the wanderer asked. Ratih nodded. "My son, how long has it been?" 30 years. The sea breeze drifted gently through the air, carrying the scent of salt. The wanderer sat beside her. Together, they gazed out at the sea, without speaking. In the days that followed, he often kept Ratih company. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they simply sat in silence. Sometimes he listened as she told the same stories over and over again. About a boy who loved running along the beach. About a boy who dreamed of seeing the world. About the day of his departure, day that had never truly ended in his mother's heart. One night, the sky was filled with stars. Ratih asked, "Do you think he is still alive?" The wanderer did not answer immediately, because some questions do not need an answer given too quickly. At last, he said, "I don't know." Ratih gave a faint smile. At least you are honest." Then silence descended between them. After a while, the wanderer asked quietly, "If one day you knew that he would never return?" Ratih lowered her head. "Would you still come to this beach every day?" The question pierced deep into her heart. Because for 30 years, she had never allowed herself to consider that possibility. In the days that followed, the question continued to live within her, like waves returning again and again. Not violently, but never ceasing. Until one morning, as the sun had only just begun to rise, Ratih realized something. All this time, she had not been waiting only for her son. She had been waiting for the past to return. She had been waiting for the world to become the way it once was. She had been waiting for reality to change into the hope she had held on to. And all that time, she had been missing the life that was still waiting for her ahead. She had missed the neighbor's grandchildren who often greeted her. She had missed the laughter of children playing on the beach. She had missed the sunrise. She had missed the rain. She had missed the life that continued to move forward. Because her eyes remained fixed on something that might never come. That afternoon, she returned to sit upon the rock, as she always did. Yet something was different. For the first time, she was not waiting. She was simply looking at the sea. Truly looking at the sea. Watching the waves arrive. Watching the waves depart. Watching birds passing overhead. Watching the sunlight dance upon the water. And suddenly, tears began to flow. Not because she was sad, but because, at last, she had released the burden she had held tightly for decades. That night, Ratih said to the wanderer, "I finally understand." What? Loss is not the most painful thing. Then what is? Refusing to accept the loss. The wanderer smiled. Because there was nothing more he needed to add. Sometimes, acceptance does not mean surrender. Acceptance means stopping the fight against reality. A few days later, as the wanderer was preparing to leave, the sea was calm that morning. Ratih came to see him off. They walked together along the shore. There was not much left to say, because some conversations had already ended before the words were spoken. The wanderer looked at the rock where Ratih used to sit. The rock remained the same, but the person who had once sat there had changed. "You won't return to that rock?" the wanderer asked. Ratih smiled warmly. "I may still come, but not to wait." "Then why?" "To enjoy the sea." And for the first time, the answer sounded light, like a wave that had finally found its shore. The wanderer continued his journey, leaving the small island behind, leaving the elderly woman who had finally made peace with time behind him. Ratih stood at the edge of the sea, watching the boat until it became a tiny speck in the distance. But this time there was no fear, no new sense of loss, only gratitude. Gratitude that she had finally made peace with time. The island remained the same. The sea remained the same. The wind remained the same. Yet someone's heart had changed. And sometimes the greatest changes do not happen in the world outside. They happen within the quiet space hidden deep inside the human heart. The days continued to pass, while the sea still held the stories that had never found an ending. Far to the east, among a cluster of spice islands, islands fragrant with the sea breeze. On one of those islands lived an old man. His name was known across the distant islands. Many people came to him seeking advice, for he was renowned for his wisdom. He understood many things about human nature. He understood much about time. He understood much about loss. He understood much about life. Yet there was one thing he had never managed to overcome. Not an enemy, not illness, not poverty, but himself. And there, the next legend would begin.